Welcome back. The International Monetary Fund, in its recently released World Economic Outlook, projected that Nigeria's economy will expand by 1.9% in 2018, but will remain subdued due to population growth, cautioning that the country's projected growth was still lower than its population growth rate of 2.7%. Now, the question is, how can Nigeria allay the fears expressed by the IMF? Interestingly, conversations at the just concluded Nigerian Economic Summit focused more on Nigeria's economic recovery growth plan. So joining me now to put all of these into perspective is the Director General, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Muda Yusuf. Thank you very much, Mr. Yusuf, for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Timmy.
1.9%, that's IMF growth forecast for Nigeria for 2018. What do you make of this growth projection?
Well, I think it's a bit, it's good, it's positive, at least the outlook is positive. It's also indicative of the fact that we are not regressing or relapsing into recession.
But is it ambitious?
You know? Well, I don't think it's ambitious.
Okay.
If you ask me, it's not even ambitious enough. But, you know, from a private sector or investor's perspective, these numbers don't mean much. Because you listen to the president of the World Bank. He was talking about how do we make the environment more productive? How do we increase productivity? You know, how do you make the growth more sustainable? You know, and this speaks to critical issues of policy. If you look at even the report of the IMF, there was a statement about policy implementation.
Yes, that was one of the concerns raised.
Yes, there was a statement about foreign exchange market segmentation. You know, these are very important policy issues. So we have issues of policy conception, we have issues of policy implementation, and you have issues of institutions. You know, it is these three critical variables that actually drive the kind of growth that is inclusive, that will create jobs that will emphasize. That is the perspective that those of us in the private sector will bring into this kind of conversation. And you make reference to the Economic Summit Group. Now, the theme of the summit is actually about productivity, opportunities, and how the ERGP will impact on that. Because if there is any major problem that we face today in this economy, it's the issue of productivity. It's not so much even some of these macroeconomic aggregates that we analyze every day about financial markets. Because when you look at the analytical space or the space of analysis or analysis, there's a dominance of financial sector or financial market analysis. Whereas the real value to this economy will come from those who are producing, who are entrepreneurs, who are investors. The economic or output equation in economics has some key major drivers. You have the consumption, that's the capacity of the people and investors to consume. You have investment, and you have exports. Those are the three critical things. And we need to look at variables that drive these critical components of the GDP. Now, because of high prices and things like that, consumption is a major issue now. If there's anything, there's a decline in consumption at the individual level, at the corporate level, because of high increases in prices, which have been driven partly by the exchange rate and partly by the fact that the cost of production in this economy is very high. Then you have investment. Two components. You have domestic investment, you have foreign investment. Domestic investment, again, if you look at the economic space, the business environment space now, it's not as if it's the best that you can have. Take the example of the Apapa gridlock. It's a major national embarrassment for this country. This is an axis from where the government makes between 3 to 4 billion naira every day. And now it's like a total collapse of the system. If it's taking 1 week to go into the port, 1 week to get out of the port, you know the implication of that for productivity. These are very important issues which some of these IMF analysis may not capture.
Now that brings the issue of Nigeria's ease of doing business programs, you know, to question now. I mean, are you saying they haven't done enough in terms of ease of doing business here?
Ease of doing business, the vice president is leading the crusade or the team to ensure that the ease of doing business under the platform of Pt.1. There has been a lot of engagement. But if you look at the size of the challenges or the magnitude of the problem, compared to what we have achieved, it's still a long way. I mean, I just cited the example of this gridlock has been there for close to 2 months. And you know the implication of that, first, for the haulage cost, for you to take a truck in and out. Secondly, for the interest cost. Because whatever you import or something, you must have borrowed money from the bank. Then you have demurrage, both from the truck drivers and the terminal operators and the shipping companies. You have the implication even for the vessels, because when you bring in a vessel and you are not able to evacuate or offload on time, there's a cost per day that you have to pay for the ship owner. It could be as high as $15,000 to $20,000 per day. All this will come to add to the costs and at the end of the day, the prices of goods and services. The Pt.1 is doing its best, but I must say that the magnitude of the problem is phenomenal. And it's not just at the level of even the Pt.1 secretariat. The state governments have also a big role to play on this ease of doing business. Because we are talking of registering property and some other things like that, and some of these issues of multiple taxation, a lot of these challenges come at the state and local government level. Then you have the bureaucracy. Because it is one thing for the political leadership to come up with very fantastic ideas of what should happen. And I don't doubt,
to implement
yes, I don't doubt the commitments of the government in this area. But the bureaucracy is a big elephant in the room. To change the bureaucracy and the attitude and disposition to make things happen, it's not an easy task. So we have to ensure that we get the bureaucracy to work. We have to get the institutions of government, which is also an extension of the bureaucracy, to work. In addition to ensuring that we have the right kind of policy conception and the right kind of framework for policy implementation.